Hello and welcome to Unit 2 Writing Summative Workshop number 2. So, last time that we were together, we wrote all of our main idea statements. So, you should already have all 5 paragraphs started. You should have your thesis. You should have your 3 topic sentences for your body paragraphs. And you should have your restatement of the thesis. So, as it is right now, you only have 1 sentence paragraphs, but we're going to fix that today. Today, we're going to be building the body paragraphs. So, this is going to involve us adding evidence, explaining our evidence, and elaborating on our topic sentences. So, I'm going to show you how to do that with 1 body paragraph, and then you're going to need to do that for the other 2 body paragraphs. All right, so we're starting on slide 9 today. And you're going to need to get out your articles. Last time I suggested that you starred where you could find information about the strategies that you chose in your articles. So hopefully you've done that so that you're ready to start pulling your evidence. But before you can put in a quote, you're going to need to introduce your evidence with a lead in. So a lead in is just a phrase that signals to the reader that you're about to give supporting evidence for your idea and that the supporting evidence comes from someplace other than you. You want to make sure that your lead in is the first part of the sentence containing the evidence, not its own standalone sentence. That's a really common mistake that students do or that students make, besides just dropping in a quote with no lead in at all. I'm going to press escape to get out of this. Oops. So, how you do this, it's pretty simple. You just start with a phrase like in the article it states, for example. One example that supports this idea is. Those are all legitimate ways to lead into evidence. Sometimes you can talk about how, like, the author says, but these particular articles don't have authors, so you can't really say the author says. So what you need to do now is I want you to go ahead and go to your document that has your essay in it. And you're just going to start by choosing one of these 3 lead-ins that's on slide 9 and typing it directly behind your first topic sentence. So I have my first topic sentence. It says, first, high school students can best manage their time and maintain a healthy lifestyle by using an agenda. So I'm going to say in the article, it states, there is my lead in. We want to be coloring coding things as we go along so that when we're all done, we can do a quick visual check to make sure everything is in the essay and everything is where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight my lead in green. There's my lead in. All right, perfect. Now you're ready to add your first quote. So this is where, so if you're not ready to do that quite yet, go ahead and press pause, finish doing your lead in. When you're ready, press play to resume again. All right, so you must be ready to add your first quote. So you are going to pick 1 or 2 sentences. You don't want to do more than 2 sentences to quote from your article on this topic. So I am doing use an agenda. So I found my evidence in the 10 ways to improve time management for students article, and the quote that I'm using is basically what it says after use an agenda. So one way that you can do this is you can just go ahead and rekey it from your hard copy of your paper that you have. If you're working with electronic notes, or even if you're not, this is where I would invite you to go ahead and use the links to the articles on the evidence slide 10. So if we look at slide 10, just a couple reminders about incorporating evidence. You do need to use at least 1 direct quote as evidence in each body paragraph. You need to make sure that you use both sources at least once. You need to make sure that each piece is relevant. So make sure that you're choosing quotes that tell how to use the strategy and not just what the strategy is or why it works. And then you need to also make sure that all evidence from your articles is cited. So we'll talk about citation here in a minute. First, we need to get our quotes. I'm going to go ahead and open that 10 Ways article. And I'm just going to scroll down to where it talks about using an agenda. And I'm going to go ahead and use both of these sentences. Now, here's something to keep in mind. The more you quote, the longer your explanation has to be. So if you want to write less, you need to quote less. That said, you need to quote something. But you might want to keep your quotes to one sentence just because if you use two sentences, it will require you to do more explanation. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and paste my quote in there. You can see that I've done that. And if we look at the color coding on the slide, we can see that we are coding our evidence blue. So I'm going to do that. All right, so you're going to want to pause this video until you're done adding your quote. All right, so you must be done adding your quote now. Now we're going to go ahead and cite your evidence. So in-text citation is essential to avoiding plagiarism. If a source has an author, then you'll use the author's last name. But in the case of these sources, they don't have authors, so you're going to have to use the article title. So when you are citing your source, you will do this. The first thing you have to do is you have to take the period out of the end of the quote because the end of the sentence is moving. It's actually going to end of the sentence. The sentence won't end until after the citation now. So that's where you'll want to put your period. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a space. And I'm going to put an opening parentheses because I have to put this in parentheses. So I'm going to make a set of parentheses. Okay, that's where my citation is going. So I'm just going to put the article title, and notice I am putting the article title in quotation marks. This is super important because that is the way that that is the way to properly format article titles. For books, we would use italics, but this is not a book. It's just an article. It's a short work. So we would use just the article title, and we put it in quotation marks to show that it is the title of a short work. All right, and then after, I'm going to move my cursor to after my parentheses, and I'm going to go ahead and put a period to end my sentence. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and highlight my citation red, because we highlight citations red in this class, and there I go. I have my quote incorporated. So far, so good. Please go ahead and pause until you have your citation added as well. All right, so once your citation is added, you can start thinking about explaining your evidence. So you're going to look at what the evidence says, and here are some things to keep in mind with explanations of evidence. You want to give your explanation of the evidence immediately after each piece of evidence. In this particular essay, you're only having one per body paragraph, so you don't have to worry about stringing quotes together. But when we get to our research paper, you're going to have two quotes, and so you're going to have to make sure that you explain the first quote before you move on to the second quote. Super common error in student papers. You want to make sure that it directly refers to the evidence. So make sure that your quote is talking about, or sorry, that your explanation is talking about the things that you quoted. It should be very clear how the quote connects to your explanation. I shouldn't look at the information that you put in your explanation and wonder what the heck it has to do with the quote. You also want to make sure that it's all in your own words. And finally, you want to be about twice as long as the evidence itself. At the very least, it needs to be longer than the evidence itself. So if you have 2 lines of evidence, you should have more than 2 lines of explanation. So let's take a look at my example. So my quote says, help yourself look ahead at all the upcoming assignments and record due dates in the agenda. Use an agenda to schedule downtime too. This will help to avoid you falling into the trap of wasted hours in front of a screen instead of working for assignments or working on assignments. So when I read this, what really kind of strikes me about this is the not only the the obvious part of helping yourself stay on top of things that are coming up by having things written down in that agenda, but also this idea that you should schedule in downtime. It shows us one that downtime is really important, but also that if you schedule in downtime, then you're less likely to steal downtime in places that shouldn't be downtime. So, what can I say about this? Well, with this essay, I think the best thing to do is to talk about how you use this in your own life, or how you could use this in your own life, um, to uh, improve your time management or health. Um, and I am going to put this in orange because it's an explanation. So maybe I can say knowing what is due in the days and weeks ahead will help you use your time better and make sure that everything gets done. So far, I've got about half as long as the quote, so I'm going to need to add some more. Um, so maybe this will not only, or this will also reduce your stress, improving your mental health. Furthermore, the suggestion of scheduling downtime is another brilliant way to both have better time management and better health, as it gives us permission to take time to relax without putting ourselves in a position where we are taking too much time and not getting other things done. All right, so you should pause until you're finished adding that explanation. Then we're going to look at your elaboration on the topic sentence. All right, so now you're ready to elaborate on your topic sentence. So, elaborating on the topic sentence is just explaining how the strategy can help teens. So, for example, with prioritizing, it helps teens make better choices about how to use their time. So, for using an agenda, I could maybe say, writing things down in an agenda is a good way to keep track of what you have to do and reduce stress by scheduling things in smart ways. All right, cool. Now I have a whole body paragraph. So you'll just repeat that process for your other two body paragraphs and you'll be all set and good to go.